I don't know if I've ever posted 2 videos in the same week, but here we are. I'm not really sure what's gotten into me, but there were some questions in the comments section that made me want to make another video to kind of explain some of the processes going into the fall. So I just got a quick mow on the renovation today. Visually, I can tell because the temperatures have started to come down. We've had our highs in the 60s. It actually feels like fall. Looks like we're going to stay kind of in the 60s and 70s for quite some time. Overnight lows have been in the 30s and the 40s, and with just a couple of days of cool temperatures, big difference in the turf quality of this renovation. But really the main reason why I wanted to post again so quickly is just to talk about upcoming frosts, hard freezes, and light freezes. The reason, I love the engagement on a lot of my videos is I get a lot of questions, and those questions really kind of spark ideas on what should I film next, or what are the types of questions that people have where I can make videos that help. It's really the whole reason why I make these videos, is because I genuinely want to help people, and by answering your questions through the form of digital content is something that I really enjoy doing. So I wanted to take a few minutes to just talk about that first freeze. If you're in the Midwest or up north, generally that first freeze comes sometime late October or mid-October. We got ours a little bit early this year, but that's okay, because I actually really like the first freeze that we get. I'm not afraid of it. A lot of people get stressed and anxious about that first freeze of the year, and the reason why I like it so much is because it means that our soil temperatures are dropping a little bit. Lower soil temperatures mean less fungus pressure and weed pressure. So when you get that first freeze of the year, that's a biological control of a lot of weed species, especially crabgrass. So I know a lot of people battle crabgrass through renovations and overseeds. And when you get that first frost, essentially, you don't have to worry about crabgrass. It's dead. It's going to get rid of it biologically. And when we say a biological control, that means there's not any chemicals or pulling or anything required in order to remediate any crabgrass pressure you have going on. That frost is going to take care of it for you. And when it comes to overseeding, especially with cool season grass, the answer to that question as far as how late can you seed, timing around that first frost is going to depend on a lot of things. What type of cool season grass are you planting, or are you overseeding, and where are you at in the country? So I'll use my region here in Missouri as an example. So on a tall fescue lawn, generally you want to overseed or renovate at least 45 days ahead of your first hard freeze. So a hard freeze is going to be an extended amount of time where you're going to get temperatures below freezing, and they're going to stick around for a while. Now, that's a big difference between a light freeze. A light freeze means you're going to get 1 or 2 nights that are going to dip into the 30s, and then the next day you're going to be maybe in the 50s, 60s, or even the 70s. A light freeze is totally fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Hard freeze is going to kind of shut things down pretty quickly, and you're not going to get a lot of growth. But a light freeze, I'm actually a big fan of, for the reasons I mentioned before about its ability to help you manage the weeds biologically, but also help you cool the soil temperatures down a little bit and allow your turf grass to grow a little bit better based upon environmental conditions. And I can tell you, if you're planting a cool season grass like fescue, it's going to love those cooler temperatures. Now, if you're planting something like ryegrass, that's going to be a different story. We really don't have any ryegrass here where I live, because the ryegrass just generally doesn't handle the summers very well. But ryegrass comes up and it establishes so fast, especially if you're up north, you're going to be totally fine to seed that late, and it's going to be fine. You're going to get a mow on it within 7 days of planting ryegrass, and you generally want to mow at least 3 or 4 times on whatever turf type you're growing before it goes into dormancy, so it has plenty of time to establish. The other grass type that I've grown here, and if you follow my channel long enough, you remember when I had Kentucky bluegrass. Kentucky bluegrass takes forever to establish. And if you've heard anyone talk about the sprout and pout phase, that generally comes after you get some germination. So a lot of times the bluegrass will emerge. It'll sit there at about 1 inch or 2 inches, and it will just stay that way for like 14 to 21 days before it eventually just takes off and starts spreading. I would do a Kentucky bluegrass renovation at least 60 to 90 days ahead of your first frost. And when I say first frost, I mean your hard frost. So you can get that established, you get some mows on it before it goes into winter dormancy. So for now, I think it is time to go ahead and get a little bit of liquid fertilizer on this lawn. I have been using a granular fert. I've been doing about a 1/4 pound each application. I think I'm going to go in and do a liquid application of triple 20 on this today. My irrigation system's supposed to run tomorrow morning, so that'll get it nice and watered in, but I want to go ahead and get some foliar nitrogen applied to this lawn today, just to encourage a little bit more growth as I spoon feed. You know, spoon feeding I've been doing every 2 weeks, about a 1/4 pound of nitrogen, with a target of somewhere between 4 and 4.5 pounds for the year on this lawn, just to help get it established. So let's go mix some of that up, and I will give you a little bit of, I guess, a peek behind. I've got some exciting things coming up actually on the channel with some other equipment and companies that I've been working with, and I'll kind of show you the setup that I use for my foliar apps. I'm going to mix up a little bit of this Peters Triple 20. This is a soluble fertilizer I use quite often. Been using this Flowzone Typhoon 3 now for a little over a year. As you can tell, it gets a lot of use. I really enjoy that backpack sprayer. In fact, when I'm doing applications like this, I often apply it with this Lesco. It's a nozzle. A soil drench is what I call it. It'll give you 2 gallons per minute out of the sprayer, but I use it a lot for applications where I'm doing either some triple 20, or even if I'm doing some ammonium sulfate. A lot of times I'll store these in buckets just to keep them dry all year long. Keeping it out of the bag and in a 5-gallon bucket works pretty well, but more times than not, I'll just take my triple 20, I'll put it right in a bucket, and I'll go ahead and mix this up before putting it in my backpack sprayer, because if you don't do that, then there's a chance that you can kind of clog things up, because these don't really have a agitating system on them to keep the water agitated. So I go ahead and melt it down in a bucket first, and then I put it in the backpack sprayer. So using this type of setup, it's pretty simple. I mean, you just like you would with anything else, you want to load up a 4-gallon sprayer with the desired amount of product. In this case, as I mentioned, I'm using the Peters Triple 20, just to kind of give this a good foliar feed, and then you just use this nozzle to come out and give everything a good soak. And I really enjoy using this type of sprayer setup instead of something like an Ortho or the Chameleon or some of the other brands that are out there. And I'll kind of show you the spray pattern so you can see why. So the reason that I like using this opposed to something like a Ortho or a Chameleon to come out and spray fertilizer in the lawn is, one, I would much rather carry the fertilizer and the liquid on my back than if I were to do that through, like, say, a hose, and I have to drag a hose around the yard. I've never been a huge fan of that. I would much rather do it this way, and essentially you're doing the same type of application that you would be if you were using an Ortho, but you're essentially just doing it out of a backpack sprayer. And really all you need is this setup. Now, this gun comes with the Flowzone sprayer, as the way you see it, and then they have a kit where you can order this nozzle that fits with a quick connect right onto the trigger that comes with the backpack sprayer. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for today. Got all the grass cut, fertilized the front yard. I'm going to repeat the process back here with the foliar nitrogen application here in the back. But I think really what you're seeing from just these past few videos is just having a little bit of patience and trusting the process is going to be your best plan of action, right? Sometimes it's better to do nothing than to try and do too much, because that a lot of times can have some negative effects on the goals that you have for whatever the project is, or a lot of things in life. So I'm going to go ahead and get this backyard taken care of. But one last thing I wanted to mention too is that a few weeks ago, if you've been following me for a while, I've done a lot of product reviews on different types of equipment here on the channel, and I was invited to go hang out with the folks at Makita USA in Atlanta, Georgia. They brought me out to their product training and demo facility, and I was able to see a lot of the new equipment that they have coming out and that they've been developing over the past few years, as they're really kind of pressing to enter the outdoor power equipment, or the OPE market. And so I got a chance to kind of see what's coming up and demo a couple of things, and they're going to be sending out some equipment for me to show you all that they're bringing to market for the end of 2024 and going into 2025. So I do believe they have some really cool things. You've seen me use a lot of Milwaukee equipment, and I will continue to use and work with Milwaukee on a lot of their outdoor power equipment, but I'm also going to be showing you some things from Makita as well. I've used plenty of Toro, Echo, Milwaukee, Ego, pretty much all the big brands that are really in the battery market right now. I've had a chance to use all of their equipment, so I'm excited to get a fresh set of eyes and a new perspective on some of the Makita stuff coming out. So don't forget to give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, much appreciated. And of course, leave me some comments in the comment section. Don't be afraid to ask questions so I can kind of answer those through the camera whenever you do have those questions. So again, thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.